Hello there, bonjour, guten tag, kalispera, ciao, and welcome to the very first episode of our special series that's hotter and more suspenseful than the European Song Contest, the EU elections. My name is Stephanos and I am the communication officer of Eurodesk Brussels Link.
And I'm Caro, training and membership officer at Eurodesk Brussels Link. And we will be the host for BeEurope 2024 edition podcast.
And today, rather than rating song performances, we are going to dig into politics and draw comparisons between our beloved Eurovision spectacle and the upcoming European elections.
And just like Eurovision, but with less singing and more tie losing, the EU elections brings together citizens from different national political parties to compete for a seat at the European Parliament. But instead of voting for the best pop beat, voters pick policies and ideas that shape the future of our continent.
Who says politics can be as exciting as pop music, right?
Definitely. So let's tell everybody what we are going to talk about in this first episode. We will explore why these EU elections matter, and we will also discuss the challenges young people in Europe, in European Union face, including obstacles such as climate change, unemployment, and that all too well-known ailment, political apathy. Together with us to kick off our 2024 edition of BeEurope is Christiana Xenophontos, the Vice President of
Vision.
No. The Vice President of European Youth Forum. I'm sorry about that. Seems like Stephanos has got Eurovision in his mind today. So, Christiana, welcome to our podcast. Can you please tell us a bit more about yourself and your role as a Vice President of European Youth Forum?
Hello. And I hope one day I will also be the Vice President of the EBU. So I'm happy to be here, first of all, with you, Caro and Stefanos. I'm taking also the opportunity to say a huge thank you for the invitation. My name is Christiana Xenophontos, and as very well you mentioned, I am the Vice President of the European Youth Forum. My main portfolio is democracy, including the European elections. And to briefly introduce the Youth Forum for those who might be less familiar with our structure, we are the largest youth platform in the world, representing over 100 youth platforms at EU and national level, and bringing together a network of around 6,000 youth organizations, all with extensive and specific expertise. And we have a 10-person board that we have started our mandate at the beginning of the previous year. And we work with our permanent Brussels-based secretariat to drive forward the focus on youth rights and on youth participation.
Amazing. So now let's dig into the topic of the podcast. So, Christiana, many people might not fully understand the importance of the European elections. So let's start from the beginning. Are the European elections important for young people?
Yes, I mean, definitely. The elections are important for all the citizens, but especially for young people, and especially nowadays with what we see going on around the world, and especially what is going on around Europe. But your question, Stefanos, is giving me also the opportunity to mention that there is always when we have elections, there is always this big interest in the youth vote in the build up to the elections. And allow me to mention that there were significant increases in the youth turnout in the 2019 European Parliament elections compared with the previous elections back in 2014. We had around 12 percentage points increase for voters of the age of 25 to 39 and 14 percentage points increase for under the 25s. However, still, and we see that young people's turnout is still lower than the general population. And this is a trend that can be observed, unfortunately, globally. But I mean, to answer your question, of course, it's very important to have young people be involved in the elections and to be interested actually to understand that their vote really, really matters.
Since you said the EU elections are very important for not only young people but also citizens, I'm wondering, how do the EU elections directly impact the life of citizens in Europe?
I mean, 100%. If you consider that every, let's say, decision that is taken either in Brussels or in Strasbourg, for example, affects our national level and our daily lives in our national spectrums, then it's a huge thing. Because before the union, we were used to be, concentrated only in our national context and every national law that we are implementing or voting for. But I mean, with the EU, we are part of a greater family. And this greater family is not just a matter of economic, let's say, union, which is at some point, but it's also a union of laws, it's a union of the rule of law. Don't forget that with the rule of law that we are having each year, for example, now the member states are obliged at some point to actually follow a common line when it comes to specific areas of their national context as well. So I think it's a very nice opportunity that we are having now, the EP elections, so as to talk openly about these things, but also in a language that is more understandable for the citizens.
Thank you for explanation. And now I would like us to focus a little bit more on the young people. So as a member of European Youth Forum, you are representing youth. Could you please tell us from your point of view, what are some of the key challenges faced by young people living in European Union today?
Of course, we see housing, for example, we see it getting worse and worse, especially during and after the pandemic. It's a disaster for young people. We see young people going back to their uh, houses with their parents and being forced to actually live a life that they probably don't choose. Mental health issues as well. We see a huge increase of anxiety among young people during the pandemic, but especially after the pandemic. Shrinking civic spaces as well, and the trust of young people towards the institutions and those who represent them, or the rights of young people and their freedoms. We had recently published our Youth Progress Index in the European Youth Forum, the third edition, and there, the people that they're listening to us, they can actually Google it. It's the Youth Progress Index by the European Youth Forum, and they can find some really interesting data that they show. They showcase how young people, not only in the European countries but from all over almost the world, are facing situations at the moment based on their well-being, employment situation, education, etc. Another thing, huge thing, since we're talking about the EP elections, is also the fact that we as young people, we are underrepresented most of the times, and especially in the European Parliament. I mean, while we are still campaigning based on our manifesto that I will mention later, we realize that within the European Parliament we have more people being called Martins than being young. which is, I mean, and they were six young people started
Wow.
back in 2019 as MEPs, and now they are only, I think they're just 4, if I am not mistaken. And we have more people being called Martins than that, which says a lot. But yeah, I mean, those are the areas that I would say are very important for young people at the moment: mental health, well-being, the housing, democracy, representation. So yes, those are the ones that I would highlight. I would highlight, let's say.
Yeah, if I may add on the housing situation, I was speaking with a friend of mine a few days ago that he managed to get a job in Cyprus, and I was like, wow, like congratulations, because he was searching for like 4 or 5 months, and then he told me, yeah, I managed to get a job, but I cannot like leave from my parents' house because I cannot afford to get my own apartment. I cannot afford to pay the bills. I cannot afford, to live a normal life. Uh, so I think, yeah, it's a very big issue, especially for a lot
And
of young.
It
and when
is.
you have issues like that, I mean, that they are affecting your daily life, I mean, how can you expect from a young person that is dealing or fighting each day to have a salary or a roof above their heads to actually being also able to participate? And I mean, I know it's a bit contradictory,
Mhm,
but if you have to deal with such challenges, then unfortunately, by default, participation comes second on their
mhm,
priority list. If they have to challenge themselves each day to survive, then participation unfortunately goes in the priority very, very down. But I
mhm,
mean, I would like also, as a step further to your previous question, I would like also to mention something that is going on and on as a myth around young people, that they are not engaged, that they are uninterested, they are preferring the beaches every 5 years during the summer that we're having the elections. This is not right. We've seen, especially in the pandemic, um, we ran a survey and we launched our after the pandemic scar on young people, that you can find it as well in our website. And we've seen that the youth activism levels are very, very, very high, with many young people getting involved in mass protests, in occupy movements, in even in the political engagement via the social media. 61% of our young people in the EU are actually involved in some sort of a youth club. And many other millions, I would say, are involved or part of a youth organization that make up the membership of us as well, the European Youth Forum, and they are active in their communities so as to drive the change. So we have to change this narrative that young people, they are uninterested, they don't care. Young people, and especially the younger, even the youngest generation at the moment, they approach participation in a broadened angle, and we have to keep up with that. We have to understand that participation is not only the voting is part of the whole process, but we need to understand that in order to convince young people to go and vote or either to participate, then we need to give them reasons. And to give them reasons, especially the ones that they represent us, they need to somehow lead by an example, which at the
mhm.
moment, unfortunately, I see that is not happening in a very, very high level, let's say.
That's a really good point. I definitely agree with you that young people, they are involved. They are just involved in different forms of participation. And also, I do believe that the young people, they vote if they feel that it matters for them. And we had perfect example in Poland in the last elections, where we had the biggest turnout in the history. But speaking about all this different form of participation and all the challenges which young people are facing nowadays, do you think voting in the EU election can actually help address these challenges and create opportunities for change?
Yes, I mean, definitely. Now is the moment. We are choosing again the ones that they will represent us for 5 years after June. So this is the moment. This is our moment, actually, as young people, to go and vote and secure that our rights or our demands will be on the priority of the list of these political groups and parties. And I mean, that's why, as a European Youth Forum, also we came up with our youth manifesto. We have been advocating for it since last year. It is a co-creation with our membership, our 100 and plus youth organizations. And you can find within the youth manifesto a list of 20 demands, let's say, across the areas of democracy and participation, youth rights, sustainability, and digitalizations. And there we suggest 20 demands to the political parties that they can consider while they are preparing either their list of candidates, but of course their agendas, the ones that they will advocate from now on, I guess, until June.
Thank you very much. And now I want to touch a bit on the topic of youth participation and political apathy. So I think we are all familiar with the classic Eurovision plot twist, the null points, or in French, null point, I think. But political apathy among young people is a plot twist that we'd rather avoid. But how can we increase youth engagement and secure more points for democracy? How can we avoid this political apathy? Some sort of strategy that we need to follow.
The null points, as you know, sometimes it's unfortunately, even in Eurovision, you have other interests behind the song contest. But I'm gonna build up further on our youth manifesto. Because within the youth manifesto, we are also, among other things, we are mentioning also the EU youth test, for example, is one of our headline demands. And the EU youth test is a tool that would ensure that every EU law would be reviewed for its impact on young people before it's implemented. And we have been advocating a lot about it, and most crucially about this tool is that mitigation measures would be proposed and implemented if a negative impact is identified on a group of young people or on young people as a whole. And I think the EU Youth Test is a great example. What's a better signal to a young person across to Europe that they matter than to implement a straightforward tool of checking how they can be actually affected, and keeping also at the same moment the institutions accountable towards the young people. So this is an example, let's say. Another example, also among the ones that we are advocating for, is the call for the vote at 16. In 2024, we will see many thousands of Belgian and German 16 and 17-year-olds voting for their very first time during the European elections. And they will join their peers from Austria, Malta, and Estonia, who already vote at least in one election from the age of 16, and Greece, where the voting age is at 17. And I hope that this will prompt, let's say, the momentum and also the discussions in other countries on taking the opportunity and opening up our democracies to younger voters to make their voices count in this institutionalized, let's say, way. Because if you think about it, at the age of 16 or 17, we can work, we can drive, we can make medical decisions, we can even enter a civil partnership or get married or join a political party. So, what is the reason why we shouldn't being able to actually have also our democratic saying? So, and this is, I mean, we're advocating about it in also hand in hand with the education system to provide those young people with a proper civil education. Now, on a political, let's say, on a practical, sorry, level, I would say that it's worth noting that according to the latest Eurobarometer, we had a staggering of 68% of young people that they didn't vote because of practical reasons, not ideological ones, neither the classic story that they were uninterested, but because they were away from their homes. And this opens up a question for the future elections on steps to take regarding the e-voting or the postal voting, so as to open our democracies to provide young people, but also the citizens in general, with tools that they can support their right to participate. So this is a food for thought as well. Now, when it comes to younger, let's say, political candidates, among other things in our manifesto, we are urging the political parties to actually have young people on the list. Because as I've mentioned previously, it's a fact. Young people, we are the most underrepresented age group in the European Parliament at the moment. We know that you do not need necessarily to be young to be supportive or sympathetic to youth issues. But if you think about it, if young people don't feel they are represented in the parliaments, also demographically, then it is less likely to engage and it is less likely to go and vote. So we need to have more young people as candidates on the list of the political parties with a genuine, let's say, likelihood of being elected. And we need, as young people, to see our demographic being represented in our political structures, and if they are to believe that political administrations can make a positive change on our behalf, let's say.
Mhm. You mentioned that young people are underrepresented in the European Parliament, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you are involved in the local and European politics as well, right?
I am quite involved at the moment.
So
But
could you give us
yeah.
some tips to our audience and explain them how young people could become more involved in the politics and ensure that their voices are heard?
Thank you, Caro, for the question. Because you are giving me the opportunity to say that the first thing is to go and register yourselves and go and vote on the 9th of June. I mean, since we are in a pre-elections period, I think this is the number one at the moment. Go register yourselves and go vote on the 9th of June. The power of your voting is not just a slogan. Your vote really matters, and your vote really has the power to change things. Then the second thing, get actively involved either to a youth organization or even a political party. If you don't like it, on a local level, get involved into your municipality activities or your youth centers. A third thing, run for elections. take the risk, take the responsibility, and start being part of the greater change that we want to see. This is what I have decided. You asked me if I am involved in the national context of my country. By the way, I'm coming from Cyprus originally. Yes, I am involved. I am quite involved, but I don't have the standard, let's say, involvement. The past 10 years, I have been involved in the youth ecosystem. I started being part of our National Youth Council, having a great interest on the research level, let's say, of youth participation. And later, I got involved also in a political party, let's say. And at the moment, since last week, I can mention also that I am officially a candidate for the EP elections, um, um, which is a new chapter, I must say, to my life. But I have decided to run for these elections, especially, and this is also a political statement for all young people outside there that they feel that they are pushed back by older people or by the system. And I tell you for sure that, the way forward is never easy. It's a roller coaster ride with ups and downs all the time, but it worth the effort, and it worth at least all the hope that we can give to our generation, that the things should be and will be better.
I think it's always nice, when young people who are involved in the youth sector, who are involved in local politics, that they are running for the European Parliament. Because yes, I think we need more young people in the European Parliament. And Christiana, we wish you best of luck in the European elections in June.
Thank
And
you.
also, you mentioned that first step is to register and vote in the elections. So, Stefanos, if I'm right, they can find information about that on our info hub, right?
Indeed, we have launched a new website for the European elections that you can find information on how to register according to your country. You can register on together.eu to follow events of the European Parliament and stay tuned, stay up to date on the European elections, and participate in many competitions as well.
That's a great news. I wish I had such a website when I was younger, because definitely like the difficulties connected with some technical steps which you need to take in order to be able to vote were some aspects which sometimes stopped me from voting. So well done, Eurodesk.
Indeed, well done. And now we are moving to my favorite part of this discussion, the fact or game. So here are the rules. We will play a short game of fact and fiction. And first, Christiana, you need to choose an opponent, either Caro or me. And then the one who was not chosen will be the facilitator, and they will present a series of statements related to the EU elections, the EU institutions, and the task will be to guess whether the statements are fact or fiction or true or false. Are you?
Okay. I am ready and excited about it. I think, okay, Caro, let's make it a women thing here.
I was afraid to
Sorry,
hear.
Steph.
No worries, I will be the facilitator, and yeah, let's see the questions. Good luck to you both.
Oh my God. Ooh.
So, Christiana, the first question is for you. In the 2024 European elections, citizens from 2 European countries can vote from the age of 16.
Okay. You want me to answer that? I
Fact
mean,
or
I've mentioned it previously. I think it's a bit unfair also for Caro this. So it's Belgium and Germany. I mean,
Yes, but the answer is false because it's
It's false.
four countries that they can vote from the age of 16. I have here Belgium, Germany, Malta, and Austria, and
Come
Greece.
on. Okay, all right.
These are some tricky questions.
Indeed. So first point goes to Caro, and then the next question, Caro. So the Council of Europe elects the president of the European Commission. Fact or fiction?
This is false. It's the European Parliament, right?
True, it is the European Parliament.
Oof.
Another point.
Okay.
All right. So, Christiana, back to you now.
Oh my God.
For the
Oh my
second
God.
question. Now it's not very difficult. So currently,
I am not sure after the first one, so
no, the first one was indeed tricky, but I think this is the next one is fair. So currently, there are 8 political groups in the European Parliament.
8 political groups.
Yes, true or false?
Correct. Or no, disaster.
It's a fiction. It's 7 political groups.
7. Wait.
Correct. All right. So, Caro, next question for you. Are you ready?
No. Just the question.
So, hashtag Voice Your Vote is the official hashtag of the European Parliament's EU election campaign.
Hashtag voice.
Voice Your Vote.
Voice your vote. My gosh, I have no idea. No,
Are you sure?
I'm not, but no. I see Christiana face, so I would say no.
I'm a bit confused with your question, Stefanos. Oh my God.
It is a no. Yes, the official hashtag is Use Your Vote, not Voice Your Vote.
Voice your vote.
So you are correct.
That was
I
good.
deserve also a half point, huh? Because she saw my face.
Indeed, I think she saw
I
your
think
face.
the point going to Diana.
No.
Thank you for helping.
We still have more questions. Oh my God.
You have one more question for each one of you.
Okay.
Okay, so Christiana,
Stefanos.
the European Council elects the president of the European Parliament. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
You are correct. Yes, it's the European Parliament that elects its president. And now we are 4 for Caro.
1. 4-1.
And
no, 5.
2,
Yeah.
2, yeah, because you have 1 point extra because you helped
For helping with hashtag.
For the hashtag. And then Carolina, final question. If you get this correct, you win. If not, it's a tie.
Come on.
So in the 2024 EU elections, Cyprus will have 6 members of the European Parliament. It's a very, very easy question.
Um, I think that's possible. So I would say yes. She's giving me the look.
Yes,
Hey,
we
that was
didn't change our
no.
number.
I would say that was false.
It's correct. We haven't increased our numbers.
It's correct. We will have six members
Oh my
of the European
gosh.
Parliament, together with Malta, if I'm not mistaken. I think we are we are.
Yes, probably. I don't know the exact number of Malta, but probably the same.
I think it
During
is,
last year, some countries increased their seats, but Cyprus was not among those
yeah.
six.
I think for the next the next European elections we'll have 720, if I'm not mistaken, from 705 MEPs that are currently now.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm learning every day new things about beautiful island of Cyprus.
Yes.
More things that the potato statue.
That's for sure. So, Christiana, thank you so much for joining us today. And before we wrap up, I would like to ask if you have any advice for our listeners, especially the young people living in European Union, about upcoming EU elections.
Yes, the first thing is to go and register yourselves and then go and vote on the 9th of June. The second thing that I would like to urge our young people that they are listening to our podcast is to actually find the European Youth Forum on social media, follow us. You can get informed for our upcoming campaigns and our ongoing campaigns like the Vote at 16, the Ban the Unpaid Internships campaign. Now we've launched together with the UN Youth Envoy the Be Seen, Be Heard campaign, which is correlated to the Vote at 16, but also to the elections. They can also navigate through our website, in which they can register themselves to get our newsletter. There they can receive news from our greater network, either from our membership and our collaborations that we have either with the Eurodesk or the European Commission, etc. So they can find very nice opportunities. And of course, get actively involved into these elections. Have your radar on until the 9th of June. We will have many candidates. Go through, use your smartphones or your gadgets to go through their websites, to go through their profiles, to see their agendas, question things, and find the candidates that they can voice your demands and your needs in the European Parliament.
You heard her. So make sure to follow the European Youth Forum on social media and keep track of what they are up to. Once again, Christiana, thank you so much for being our guest on the very first episode of BeEurope 2024 edition.
And of course, best of luck in your journey towards the European Parliament for the EU elections. I think we both were very, very glad to see young people being candidates to the European elections. For our audience, thank you very much for listening and watching this episode. Join us for our next episode soon, where we will dive deeper into the key issues the European citizens are more concerned about and how those issues are shaping the EU election. So stay tuned and follow us on Instagram and TikTok.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.